taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Augmented Reality podcast for April 13th, 2022. Hope you're having a great evening and a great week. And we are here, the Triple S League, to talk about news, leaks, and analysis about games and the gaming industry. My name is Ash, and I'm here with Saib and Moontag, as always.
And Luna.
And Luna, apparently, who may chip in an opinion now and then with a sharply worded meow. But anyway, we are broadcasting live, as always, on our community server on Discord. It will eventually move over to Guilded, but we are live for our Discord members right now and pre-recorded, of course, on YouTube and almost anywhere you can find podcasts. And, of course, those of you who are supporters of our channel, either through Patreon or, server boosting or channel members, that kind of thing, stick around after the recording session for a post-show hangout with the three of us. Those are always a fun time. We've been having a blast with those every week, so... yeah, hope to see you all there. So before we start with the news, Saib wanted to make an announcement. So let's hear it, Saib.
Excuse me. Big announcement, ladies and gentlemen. Drum roll, please.
Big announcement. Saib's going to get a cough button.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
We've been thinking, we've been doing some planning and some stuff like that, and just because of something that we did in the past, we're going to be doing again. And we're going to be doing a couple of things like this with this upcoming game called Starfield. Starfield's coming up. And we're definitely going to get our fingers into some modding. Unless the game is absolutely garbage.
Yeah, so assuming the game is good and people enjoy it, yeah.
Assuming the game is moderately good, we're definitely going to make some versions of a few mods. We're definitely going to do a couple of things, because every time... Fallout 4, we made a number of mods. We're actually one of the bigger mods for Fallout 4, just due to a couple projects that we worked on together. We have one of the largest, earliest sound sourcing mods. We also have one of the biggest celebrity mods, and we also have a couple of big story mods. But I'm making an announcement today that we are preparing and laying the groundwork for a second. Yes, the second in a series of themed mods in Bethesda games featuring Markiplier. Now, Markiplier hasn't agreed to this. We just kind of put him in there regardless of whether he wants it or not. But we're going to be working on a Markiplier mod. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you've been waiting for it for so many years. A return to the Markiplier Play With Me mod in Fallout 4. But this time... in Starfield.
All right, well that's
this coincided with the fact that Markiplier has a space choose your own adventure story right now.
Yeah, his In Space with Markiplier big thing that he's been like pushing,
which coincidentally gives us a ton of content to work with whilst doing a sci-fi space mod.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, again, depending on the fact that the game's not actually garbage, we're gonna work on that, and that means that we're going to be working on more mods in the future for this game and for others. There's stuff that we want to kind of try and get into. So yeah, and then if you join the Gilded, I'm posting a funny ad that I got in Off Topic today, whilst on a PC on a PC Gamer website. PC Gamer gave me this ad. I do not buy Displate. I've never bought Displate. I do not buy anything related to the image. I've never bought anything related to this image, but I'm going to post this in the chat because it's really funny.
You search anime stuff all the time.
Actually, I don't search anime stuff.
Well, it's figured out.
I just know where anime stuff is, and I just go directly to the source. So, yeah.
Well, if you think they're not tracking that, then yeah.
Like, I don't type in, anime into Google search at all. Like, I just simply do not do that. I already have tabs that are open to those particular sites, and I just go straight there. Again, when I say particular sites, I mean, generalized, family-friendly anime. Guys, get your head out of the gutter. Oh,
Oh no, Luna.
Oh, we have a cat attack.
She knocked out.
That's right. Eventually, anime searches you. Yes, in Soviet Russia. Oh, all right. So on to the news then. All right. So we'll take these in no particular order. Oh, that's not true. General order. But, oh, by the way, so yes, do leave your questions and comments in the live chat, which, again, is the podcast live chat on the Discord server. And if you're listening after the fact, slam that like button and leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts about the topics we're talking about today. So we have, yet another remake announcement. Now, this was covered. We covered this on Maximum News right here on Triple S Podcasts with Max Starrett and Obsidian. Max Payne and Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne. How many times can I say Max Payne in one sentence? In a new development agreement with Rockstar Games, they're being remade by Remedy Entertainment. So now these are obviously iconic games. Max Starrett was pretty excited about these being remade. I look at this and I kind of think another Rockstar remake. The last one didn't go so well. And we had, again, I saw some mixed reactions to this in our servers. Yes, this is exciting, but also, why can't the games industry or the movie industry or any industry come up with anything new? And actually, that's something we're going to be talking about later when we talk about some iconic game developers that are coming out of retirement and creating a new game after being retired for 25 years. This is an interesting one that I have a lot of personal interest in. So anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think of this? Tell me in the live chat. So what is the... Are you just excited that new Max Payne games are coming? Or are you getting tired of remakes? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm not excited for the company, obviously. Not in the slightest. I have been thoroughly annoyed with dealing with this particular developer. I think that a lot of their stuff is detrimental to the gaming sphere. I think a lot of their games are good. Don't get me wrong. Grand Theft Auto has won its fair share of positive stuff, but at the same time, they've been really unhealthy for gaming just in general. They've been extremely unhealthy for developers. Not as bad as some others. Obviously, there are worse places to work at, but we do know that, if you were a new person coming into Rockstar, somewhat in the last 8 to 10 years, you didn't gain a lot out of that. Now, the developers who were there, when they had their major success and they've been there for 20 years, they've made out like bandits. Congratulations. But not everybody has reaped the success. And this is something that, again, it's I harp on with Blizzard, because it's like you're shooting yourself in your own foot, repeatedly. When you treat the people who make your product, and you treat the majority of them like garbage. It's congratulations. Blizzard gave 1,100 employees a raise from $10 an hour, which is below the poverty line in most of the United States of America. But these people lived in the most expensive place in California to live. Most of them were living 6-7 people per 1 or 2 room apartment buildings, so that they could do this job.
We're talking about we're talking about Blizzard now?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the games industry as a whole, and as a whole, Rockstar has fed into that, has helped that, for a long time. They didn't offer those people, $40 an hour jobs. They didn't step in with them and with all these other companies. They've gradually brought the thing down. So no, I'm not happy with Rockstar right now as a whole.
They're also a subsidiary of
EA. I'm not happy with Activision Blizzard. I'm not happy with any of these major big companies and corporations. They're rotten poison for the industry, and they keep shooting themselves in their foot, wondering, oh no, why is there so many problems with the industry?
I wonder, but yeah, no, and I mean, Rockstar also a subsidiary of Take-Two, which we consider to be a garbage company.
Hostile garbage company, to put it lightly.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I was going to put it diplomatically, but why do that? I mean, it's just our opinion. You're a garbage company, Take-Two, 2K, all of y'all. Not like all the developers and people, but the people who, actively try to destroy the lives of modders and of content creators online, and, actually send investigators and thugs to intimidate people and intimidate people's mothers and basically bully people into for no tangible benefit either. Like there was no benefit to the company for the behavior that they're doing, but then they're just intimidating, bullying, cheating people out of their livelihoods over nothing. Oh, you grabbed a screenshot that was publicly available from our Twitch stream, but we didn't want people to see that. So we're going to destroy your entire YouTube channel and your livelihood. And that literally happened, folks. I'm not making that up.
And he can't even buy internet from an ISP, because the ISP themselves were threatened by these big companies. And being that there's only one ISP out in his area, that means he can't get internet, period. Like, imagine that. Yeah. Imagine a giant corporation to which you have spent your online professional career helping. You think you're continuing to help them. And they show up one day and say, actually, you kind of really pissed us off. We want all of your contacts, all of your technology. Oh, and by the way, we're never going to let you get online again. Like, online again. Not we're never going to let you play our games again. We're never going to let you do this again. We're never really going to let you do that again. No, we've gone to your bank. We have gone to your credit card company. We have gone to your ISP and your power company and threatened them with lawsuits if they continue to give you access to these things.
So so just strikes me, why are we even talking about this? Screw Take-Two.
Well, because again, it is a popular game. And for that reason alone, and again, the guys at this studio working on these titles, these devs, they don't want any of this stuff. In fact, oftentimes they don't even know that this stuff is going on. A lot of the people at the particular studio that this all revolved around, most of those people, including the head guy there, had no idea what Take-Two was doing behind the scenes. They had no idea. And they got a tune out themselves because, of course, there was a leak. And the leak was pretty high up as far as they could tell. And they themselves were thrown into a situation where they were told, how dare you? And again, it's because the corporation has this extremely aggressive legal wing of their company, and they are literally like a Secret Service. I want to say the G word, but I don't want to trigger anything. They're like an organized group of secret police that may or may not have been active in and around World War I and II, specifically the second, where they're questioning people, their own people. Like, how dare you do this? Do you not understand the glory of the current people and group we are supporting here? You have to bend the knee. You will bend the knee, won't you? And and again, that's the stuff. So again, yeah, these people don't often know what's going on. These developers, they don't deserve the hate themselves. And so for that, we kind of hope that, they do well enough to maybe get their freedom from that developer, from that publisher. Because again, more and more and more games today do not need developers. Publishers. I keep confusing those two words in my head. It's late. The publishers, they really don't need the publishers. And I'm going to segue into this game that we're going to talk about today. A great example of this, an absolutely amazing example of this, is a game that is absolutely tearing up all of the charts right now, and that is called Vampire Survivors. This game is a walk. I know it's very expensive, and I know that not everybody has a lot of money, but I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it. 71,000 reviews in the last 2 months, or last month or something like that. And these guys have self-published.
And if you're just listening on audio, I'm laughing about the side saying this game is super expensive. It's 10% off right now. It's 10% off, so you can save those 30 cents from the regular price of $2.99. Well, that's what it is in Canadian dollars. So in American, it's probably like $2 for. Okay. So you said there are. Oh, good night. Yeah, that's a ton of reviews.
This is one of the most streamed games recently. In the last couple of weeks, this is one of the most top streamed Twitch streamed games. And it's really solidly, like, I started to stream this in with our just over the weekend when I got it. I started streaming it, and people started watching, and they started reacting because they're like, "What is this game?" And wow, this is actually really interesting. And obviously the massive streaming numbers really kind of fluctuate depending on who's currently playing it. Obviously,
well, yeah,
but it is one of the it is the top it's the top new interest games, obviously. And then there's the Elden Ring and League of Legends, Lost Ark. They all, they've got the Fortnite, the Star Wars Lego, the Minecraft, all that stuff. They still have tens of thousands of viewers more so than this, but this is one that has fluctuated to the top. Again, it really depends on who's playing it at that moment, right? Like who's getting into it. Asmongold got into it, and there was 100,000 people watching there. So stuff like this, right? Like it's an interesting game. But again, and yes, it is an indie game, so they are self-publishing. But more and more larger games are starting to self-publish. They don't need those giant publishing houses. They don't need those billions and billions of dollars of investing that comes with a list as long as a block of things that they can or cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I'm happy to see some of these big studios being bought out by Microsoft, specifically because the person who's leading Microsoft right now is doing so intelligently and is not forcing stuff, but we know that that's just probably just a matter of time. Eventually the censors will come down. Eventually they'll start to make mistakes. I just hope that that's as far away as humanly possible. Right. I hope that Phil stays in charge for the next 30 years, does a absolutely amazing, maybe runs for office when he gets out of it. I mean, sure, why not? Like a guy can dream, right? And all for the simple fact of the guy has a pretty baseline concept on how he wants game development to go, and that's make whatever you want, stick to a very rough timeline of actually putting content out, and we will continue to support you because we believe in a healthy economy of games, not necessarily single blockbusters, period. Because Minecraft doesn't happen. You can't make Minecraft happen by wanting it to. You can't make Minecraft happen by getting a bunch of like the top gaming developers into a room and saying, we need something to launch this new product with next week. Put something together, throw it out there. It's like you don't get that. You get that from artists in a room coming up with ideas. And so far, recently, in the last decade, the majority of that has come from indie developers, where they're free to just come up with concepts and create technology that's good. And in a way, we look at Unreal, we look at that engine. It's good. It's really good to see that doing so well. But at the same time, we can scratch our heads and say, well, is it good that everybody starts using the exact same piece of technology, or would it be better to have something different come in, have something different tweak the concepts of what you can or cannot do in a game? So yeah, I'm not for big business, but at the same time, like when it's done right, I'll give them the props. But when it's, I still think that the best gaming out there is definitely from indie developers. And again, it's stuff like this where the most fun I've had in the last 2 months of gaming has been in a game that looks like it was made 30 years ago.
Well, again, I think we talked about this last week, how it's about the gameplay and it's not about the fanciness of the graphics. Of course, 30 years ago, there's no way you'd have that many moving characters on the screen. But
no.
But it comes down to the gameplay, and I think you do have a point about, a publisher is not absolutely necessary. Now, I doubt no AAA publisher would even glance at this game. Mm-hmm. For one thing, because they'd be like, "What is this?" But I mean, indie developers can benefit from a publisher. I mean, when a game gets signed with by an indie developer with somebody like Devolver Digital, that can increase your reach, that can increase your exposure, that kind of a thing. But it's, again, there's a choice to be made there, right? There's a choice to be made, and a simple game like this can become super popular. And I mean, if you think about it, so they've sold, let's see here, 10 there's tens of thousands of reviews. And that's, a percentage of the people that bought this game. So whoever developed this game, they've made a few bucks. Let's put it that way. You've been selling it for $2 to $3 per copy. While we're on Steam, though, looking at indie games, I want to talk to you about this indie game. If you like puzzle games, you have got to check out this game, Patrick's Parabox. This game is freaking amazing, and I'm in the middle of doing a full walkthrough of it, but it is the most innovative and it's just the most innovative puzzle game with unique mechanics that I've seen in a very long time. And again, I do believe, it says the publisher is just the developer's name. So again, no publisher. Definitely check this one out if you're into puzzle games, and if you're into indie games. It's all good. They're all good. I think this is a really good transition point, actually, into another story we're going to talk about, in which we have two game developers from way back who are coming out of retirement after 25 years. Ken and Roberta Williams, who have, again, spent the last quarter century living in Mexico, writing books, and traveling the world on their own personal boat, have decided, partly because they got bored during the pandemic, which I found funny, they've decided to release another game. And this one gets me right in the feels, because these two were the founders of Sierra Online, which later became Sierra Entertainment. The developers of such games as the King's Quest series, the Police Quest series, Leisure Suit Larry, they did so much. But these folks retired before some of you in our community were born. Let's put it that way. But their influence on the adventure genre of gaming, persists to this day. Roberta is credited with creating the first graphics-based adventure game. Like, there were games with graphics before that, but adventure games were text-based. And but then she put out Mystery House. I think it was called Mystery House.
You know, and I really remember them. I'm like, walk west, look. You look around, you see troll. Oh dear. Walk north. North is blocked.
Yeah.
Oh, walk south. South is a desert. Oh my. Interesting.
She says, "Thanks for making me feel old, Ash." Well, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so they retired in 1998, which that's ages ago for, and that's why they sold the company. So after that point, after about 98, they were no longer involved in Sierra. The company persisted after that, but everything they did basically had nothing to do with these two, and the company actually didn't do very well and went under within 10 years. But anyway, so we're going to talk about this from two angles. One is their next game. They've started a new company, just a 2-person operation, although they have about 20 people working for them as independent contractors. And so it's called Cygnus Entertainment Llc. And this is really interesting because they're funding this entire thing themselves. No Kickstarter or venture capital. They have 12 full-time workers, all of whom are independent contractors. And they formed this LLC for the purposes of launching Colossal Cave 3D, which is a game. So they're taking a really, really, really old game from like 1979 or 1980 called Colossal Cave, and they're reimagining it as an actual, first-person 3D game with VR controls. Kind of crazy. And it says right here, it has not yet been determined whether future games will be developed by Cygnus Entertainment or if Colossal Cave 3D was a one-shot effort. Time will tell. Basically, if the game's a success, they might make more. They might make more games. But anyway, they have a neat video here that kind of it's both a trailer for the game and also a bit of a history about these two. But anyway, they did this interview with Ars Technica where they opened up about their game development philosophy, and this is why a member on our Gilded server, I just want to get through. Oh yeah, Orwell Oracle brought this to our attention and wanted to talk about. I'll just read Orwell's comment here. Is this the secret to making a fantastic game? Taking risks and then iterating on the formula. So basically, I think what he was getting at there is that basically the AAA, this is something we've talked about a lot. The AAA industry takes zero risks, but I'm kind of stumbling over myself here. One of their philosophies when they went into making games, again, back in the 80s and 90s, was to have blinders on as to what the rest of the industry was doing. They wanted to do their own thing, and they wanted to be innovators and leaders in the industry. And so they were doing things that nobody else was doing. Again, they produced the first graphical adventure games, and they produced, they had wild success with a lot of their titles. And also, and this was while, shortly after they had got married, they had a couple of small kids. He was a computer programmer, and then she just found this adventure game on his computer one day and played through it. It was Colossal Cave. And then decided she wanted to make her own game and asked Ken to program it for her. And that's how their company got started. And they had a lot of wild success from that. But anyway, I would recommend reading through this article. I'm going to just read a few snippets of it. But I just think this is what it should be, what I've got highlighted right here. No fear of colossal failure. If this game stinks, it ain't going to change our life at all. They are literally just doing this because they want to do it. They have, no shareholder pressure, no financial pressure. They're not going to go broke if their investment into this goes down the tubes, right? And not everybody is in that position, unfortunately. Like I imagine they're just kind of sitting on a nice nest egg. But this makes me feel like, I mean, even if I feel like it's going to be their game with no, again, without that external corporate pressure. Like, they're not signing with one of these big publishers that would come in and kind of change their vision for everything. But there's a couple of specific quotes that I wanted to pull up here. Sierra games, they said, stood out because they were built with blinders from the rest of the games industry. Nobody worked at competitors' companies, nobody played competitors' games, and after each Sierra game's release, its individual sales record would determine the budget and scope of the lead designer's next game. Lots of interesting quotes in this article, but what I really wanted to highlight was actually, after this was published, Ken Williams came and left a comment on it that I think is actually more interesting than the entire article, although I would recommend going and reading this article at Ars Technica if you're interested in this stuff. But the article mentions that part of the Sierra philosophy was to have blinders on when building games. As the author points out, we did do some games that were knockoffs of other games. What I was really referring to was my policy of deliberately avoiding hiring employees who had worked at competitors and avoiding having our designers look at competitive products when building our games. The saying I used to quote frequently was, leaders lead and followers follow. I saw Sierra as an industry leader and tried to always take the attitude that it was our job to lead the pack. We had to try to guess where the industry was going and help it mosey in that direction. You can't do that by studying competitors. I wanted a Sierra game to feel like a Sierra game. This is not to say we were completely blind to what was happening around us. Skipping ahead here. So, much of why our product line was so varied was that I always compared our product lineup to the bookshelves at a Barnes & Noble. I would point out to the team that there were shelves for science fiction, shelves of how-to books, shelves of fantasy, etc., etc. It was important to me that we build products based on consumer demand, not based on what hits our competitors had delivered.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments from Rise Against Them in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all copy-paste. How many battle royales came out in the past few years? Too dang many. The only reason they should be looking at competitor games is to know what to avoid, not what to do.
That's a very interesting thought. Yeah, and
it's very it's very accurate, because like how many of those battle royales actually like changed up the system? Like basically
Right?
none.
No.
A handful of them came with like one or two good ideas. That was it. And the rest of it was just recycled hogwash. And the thing that these studios needed to be doing, and again, I keep thinking back to like Cliff Bleszinski, that poor idiot, who chased other people's concepts of games that they were putting out. It's like maybe the problem is that you didn't have an original. The only original bone in the body of that work was to make the NPCs, the player characters, to make them look like just like absolute garbage, right? To like, I think back to those the smash or pass, phase that was around a couple of years ago. And it's like you take the lineup from like you take the lineup from any like League of Legends or Overwatch, especially Overwatch. You're gonna get like from a mixed group of people seriously seriously commenting on the smash or pass. You're gonna have probably like a high like 70% smash. If you were to show them the characters from that stupid Lawbreakers, if you just show them the characters from Lawbreakers, and if people were being legitimately serious, the pass ratio would be like 90%. Gee, Cliff, I wonder why the game failed. I wonder why nobody was interested in playing with those characters. Might it have something to do with the fact that they all looked like, a hobo getting out of a dumpster? I mean, maybe just a generalized concept. Maybe don't make your characters look like absolute disgusting pieces of garbage. I mean, that's just a wild idea that I have. I don't know why on earth I would think that, but yeah, that's typically the problem. But that encompasses so much of what the gaming industry is doing right now. Is that, old school Blizzard used to take ideas that other people came up with, steal them outright, and then just make them better. And they stopped doing that. And once they stopped doing that, they stopped making good games. Like, you know, once they're like, hey, we're gonna create our own things. Again, they started to fail at that. So it entirely depends on what your strengths are. But yeah, they hit the nail on the head with this, because a lot of the companies, a lot of the games, how many of the games that have failed recently failed because somebody else was trying to reduplicate something. And 76 is, I'm going to hammer on Bethesda here on 76, but not necessarily for the reasons that we've kind of covered over and over and over again. They looked at Rust and they said, what can we do to replicate the Rust experience? And that was their first mistake. The concept of like, hey, let's make a game that's loosely like Rust, that obviously has like some room to grow, because 76 is actually like, it's maintaining a really healthy population now. Games like No Man's Sky really has found its own audience, and despite their early struggles, these games are doing very well now because they've actually come up with like legitimately good stuff, right? Like legitimately good concepts. Again, the games are still like, there's still problems, there's still holes. I'm not rushing out to reinstall any of them. I have reinstalled them each like twice, just to like see where the game is at, where the world's at, where the community's at. And I played it no more than a week each, in each case. And again, that was just to kind of see what was going on. But the first mistake they made is trying to make the game like Rust, like allowing the PvP. Nobody was interested in PvP except for griefers. Nobody in the Fallout community was interested in PvP. They have now officially turned it off. Why did they turn it off? Because their interaction with PvP was less than 0.001%. Like, that's like what, one in 100,000 or 1 in 10,000. It was 1 in 10,000 people were interested in PvP. And again, all they were griefers. All they were like, they would go out and find a way to ruin somebody else's day, not to challenge them on an equal footing. Because in a game where you have PvP, you never engage if you know that they hold the high ground. Like, almost never. I mean, I was a long time world PvPer. I was one of the best, and I can tell you that every person I ever saw engage in PvP, they did so because not every single person. Out of the thousands of people I met, the vast majority, nearly all of them, with a handful of like 5 or 10, would only engage in world PvP if they thought they could win. If they thought they could use the current scenario to their advantage. That's the nature of world PvP. That's the nature of this kind of stuff. You don't fight because it's honorable and you're a Klingon and you have like, doesn't matter if, if we're going to die, maybe today is a good day to die, and they charge into the fray, knowing that they're probably going to lose. But if they win against such odds, the honor that you would get, I mean, that's what drives, and that's the thing that I love about Klingons. But you don't have that in most of these things. And again, Bethesda really dropped the ball here because they didn't know what their own community was like. And that's one thing that I would suggest that they get would be like somebody who like can function as a community like
liaison,
yeah, who can accurately sit their bosses down and say, actually, nobody wants this feature because that's not what this community is made out of, and here's the evidence to support that. And again, you have all these games that have been doing the same stuff and falling into the same plot holes, and it's funny because it's really been there. Like, this has really been there since these guys actually left the industry. Since it's Roberta and what's the guy's name? Ken?
Ken, yeah.
Yeah, so Ken and Roberta they were so ahead of their time on this, and clearly this lesson never never took. This lesson clearly never took, and
I don't think it stuck either.
Yeah, no, most certainly didn't stuck. But yeah, this is a good idea. I also find this really funny that so when he was talking to IGN, and he said that he started to investigate how modern games were made, and he picked up Unity and just started coding. Like, the guy never was he was never he didn't have to take a refresher course. He just oh, coding language, hopped into it like straight away. And then Roberta started she started she started immediately adapting the code for 3D, like, immediately. And again, so that these guys are on their A game, because they're clearly capable of continuing to do this work. And this is really cool. And this is why I think this is why coding is actually such a good thing, and why I'm partially interested in working on a project. I'm actually kind of interested in working on a group project. If the community is really interested in working on a group project with the newest Unreal Engine, that's something that we definitely want to look into. Mm-hmm. So if you guys are interested in that, let us know. Like, we don't have a lot of time right now, but it would be an interesting idea to have kind of a group mentality, like a group concept. We always wanted to create a server in 76 if it was good, which it wasn't. It's good now, but they still haven't fixed the server issues. Like, I want a server that we can literally just do everything in, change all the rules, but they still haven't opened those rules up. They still haven't allowed you, when you rent a Minecraft server, if you want to mod it with My Little Pony stuff, you can do that. It's your server. You could, so long as it's not illegal, and you're not charging people to access assets that aren't technically yours, unless you're doing something illegal in the thing, you do whatever you want. You want to mod in stuff, you want to mod in, you want to change all the creepers to aliens from the Alien series. I think there's mods for that. You could just go and do whatever, but you still can't do that. So maybe we're approaching it wrong. Maybe instead of having an open server for a game, maybe we just create our own game with our own community, our own server.
Actually, a community created game would be really interesting, because then it's focused on what that community wants. Now, I mean, I don't know how difficult it would be to manage that, but yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with what I was trying to sort of explain as I was introducing the story, which I don't think I did very well. But yeah, the game design philosophy that they basically went in with was to keep to not, again, be completely blind to what's going on in the industry, but to not try to copy everybody, but to make something they think is good and that they think really is going to work and that they enjoy doing themselves. And I thought you'd find this interesting, Saib. The couple's blinders attitude about video game design translates to VR as well. Ken is programming the game systems to meet Roberta's demands. And then I'll just summarize a little bit. So, Roberta got seasick playing the VR port of Myst, but she's also experienced seasickness as they were, traveling the world on their boat. And she's taking some of the principles from that and applying them to making sure that their new game, it'll reduce seasickness for people. Where's that stupid quote? She's using the same principles that help her with seasickness on boats in terms of perspective and players' relationships between head positioning and movement. And, Ken said that, they're going for, he's going for what makes her comfortable playing the game, not what's industry standard. And I think that I think that kind of attitude is why Sierra's games were such a success back in the day. Now, I mean,
I remember the first generation of 3D tech was actually being utilized in serious games. So I wonder if there's more of a history there than we know about. So that's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah. So we'll. I mean, I don't want to talk this too much to death, but it's very fascinating, and I've always found this couple's story very fascinating, as well, just on a personal level. Married right out of high school, had a couple of kids, decided to make video games, made a company, and retired in their 40s with enough money to live in Mexico and take a boat around the world. And now they're back to make another game. So it's kind of like, wow, what a wild ride. All right. You are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast, and we thank you for the interaction in the live chat. Please do, again, put your questions and comments there. And, of course, if you're listening after the fact, leave your comments down below. Or, follow the links in the description to check out our community servers. We've got a Discord server and a Guilded server. We are making a controlled retreat away from Discord and toward Guilded. Just kind of waiting for critical mass to hit over on Guilded, and then that'll become our main base of operations. But for now, our Discord server still is very, very active. And if you're listening on YouTube, please do subscribe to this channel to catch both this show and Maximum News. Each of those shows happen once a week. And check out our Triple S League channel, where you can find game guides, game reviews, comedy stuff, all kinds of fun stuff. We do all kinds of different content over there, all gaming related. And we also have a book out. It's releases in a week. Best of Classic Card Games. I will put a link to that in the description as well. So yeah, that's been it's been an insane time for us here at the Triple S League. We have all kinds of things going on. We should talk about this PlayStation Network bug next. First, just gonna take a glance at the cartel finally caught up with them. What says Sherwood in the chat? That's funny. Okay, so there's we've talked a lot on this show and in other, just in our videos in general about, the issues of everything being always online and only digital. I believe you said on the previous podcast side that, you like owning the game, and a lot of people like having the physical copy. That, and that doesn't bother me. That's not as important to me, but there's a distinct advantage in that, if you own the physical copy, then you always have it. It can't just go away if some network goes down or some software provider goes down.
Or the server fails.
There's a bug on the PlayStation Network that's causing game licenses to expire for games for the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita. And first reported for purchased and downloaded versions of Chrono Cross. The bug has also affected games like Chrono Trigger. It's that word chrono, clearly. There, problem solved. No, there's these games just not being available for people who had purchased them to play because there was an error saying that the license had expired. Now, these licenses are not supposed to expire, but the problem was there's some kind of a glitch that was saying that the license expiry date was January 1st, 1970, which, of course, is long before it's been a while since the PlayStation 3 came out, but I don't think it was the 1970s. So obviously, some kind of error, and some people have been... It's been theorized that there's some kind of rollover error that's causing this, kind of like a Y2K type of thing. But anyway, whatever the problem is, apparently PlayStation hasn't been too helpful in helping people fix this problem, or acknowledging that it is a problem, or even commenting on it. But again, what a problem. with having these all digital game libraries, or having to have things online all the time, always having to have that connection,
And this is so weird. Like, it's going to be more freaky if this becomes like it starts to happen more and more and more and more. Like, it's very, very worrisome if this literally starts to happen overnight to tens of thousands of players, and there's no immediate solution for it. It's like, this is part of the problem. This is the thing that, we've been fearing for a really long time. I'm glad Steam doesn't really do stuff equivalent to this. I know there's some products that are kind of like that, but for the most part, like, I could be offline and I could just start up these games without a problem.
Sure.
But it's disturbing that this is happening now to such a major studio or major platform, not just a studio. It's a major platform. It's affecting dozens of studios and dozens of publishers. And I think the lesson to take away from this is like guys, if you're just intent on selling a license and that's it, you're fool. And hopefully the consumers will start to realize that this isn't healthy, and they'll start to move away from these things. This is part of the reason why I've been so annoyed at this stuff. I don't think anybody's expecting to own their games when they're buying a game pass of some kind, and so I get that in these cases. But when you actively buy a product, but you don't really actually own it, despite the fact that you own a physical disc, despite the fact that you own a physical, computer or console to play it, and then you play, you boot up the game to play while you're offline, while the internet's turned off, and you suddenly get a notice saying, "Oh, you can't play this game. Your license expired." And there's no fix for that.
Yeah.
Like wow, just wow.
Yeah.
And again, redo all my rants in the last 3 weeks that I've had about indie developers and why they're better. All these other projects because they're better.
Right.
Yes, this is.
Of course,
this is all better
even indie developers are subject to the same thing. I mean, it's you buy an indie game through Steam, you're still or on the PlayStation, whatever. You're still only buying a license to play that game. That statement is disputed, that, oh, you're just buying a license. I mean, I don't know all the legal ins and outs. Okay. I'll just say that I know, again, what is ownership of a digital product? Like, if you buy a book, you don't own the content of the book. Like, it's copyrighted. You can't take a book and photocopy it and then, sell it. But you own that copy. If someone comes into your house and takes it, that's theft, right? You can choose to burn it, and whatever. I'm not advocating book burning. It was just the first thing that came to mind. You can.
But this like the way I'm thinking about it more so is like, you think about it like, if society collapses tomorrow, what do you have, right? What do you have if you are a person who creates an enclave of survivors for the next 100 years, right? It's like, what do you have? What do you have with a book? Well, you have that book. Could you copy that book? Yeah, you could copy that book. And I'll say this: if society completely collapses and there's no such thing as electricity, communications, or generalized printers anymore, feel free to copy information from anything I write, because it's
I think the rules will be
that it stays.
It'll be different at that point. Yeah.
It's important that it sticks around. And I think back to the dark time, the middle age, dark ages. Yeah. And you can, again, you just take that over. Say you had internet wasn't a thing, but you still had working computers, and you could work on those computers. What happens when those computers, when all of those programs, say your program that keeps a library of how to it's basically an offline version of Wikipedia with all the rules and all the instructions you need for rebuilding society, suddenly goes blink, sorry, your license is expired. It's like, well, what happens then? Well, now you go back to caveman times, whereas somebody else who doesn't have that, doesn't have that. I know it's a wonky, weird thing to comment on, but I actually kind of like it because it's kind of Fallout-esque.
Right.
It's like those are the differences in these ways of selling stuff right now, and I prefer the old traditional method of when you buy something, you own that thing, and it's just not going to just shut off one day because your temporary user license has expired, or there was a glitch in the program and now you can't access your content. I mean, imagine like being excited for a game, coming up, and you log in and suddenly like your account is like, sorry, your account has come to an end, and it's like you have no idea why. Nobody can figure out how to fix it. Like, you read this article about this guy, about these people suffering from this problem. It's not that they just can't play that one game. They can't play any of their games on their console that they paid money for, those games. They can't access anything, period. Imagine having to deal with that. Like, you game time with your friends are gone. You're suddenly just gone. You can't communicate with any of them anymore. I don't know if they're having chat issues with the platform, but it's like you're just gone. All of that, you were working on doing the speed run of Elden Ring, and you can't do that anymore because, well, your account decided one day that you just don't own this thing. Sorry, buddy. You're back to basics.
Yeah. Well, and why they even have licenses that expire anyway?
Why they
programmed
just,
into the
that
system?
just annoys
that doesn't. I mean, they have certain like demos and things like that are sometimes licensed to only work for a certain period of time. But I don't know why they have to have a date in there, and so now it's bugged out and gone to this sort of default date, as Schoolerman points out. January 1st, 1970 is the beginning time for many date objects. So like, in coding and databases and stuff, it's like an arbitrary time they picked as like, this is when time started as far as computers are concerned. And it's why does that even have to be there? But I mean, you're absolutely right. And the weird thing is, though, that I have physical copies of a lot of old computer games. They no longer run. I would have to dig up like some old hardware or some kind of an emulator to even make them run. But then again, my computer doesn't even have a CD drive. So hardware obsolescence almost seems in some ways like a bigger problem than the license expiring. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts, Moon? Like, what does it mean to own something here in the digital age, or like, buying and it's not just video games either, like ebooks,
or like subscription-based programs. Like, basically, you are at how do you say? There's a word for this, but it's basically you're subject to the longevity of the publishing company or the seller of the thing you are subscribing to. So it's like, let's say like you have a game or you have a program, and then the source goes bankrupt and just poof, gone. Are you SOL, or can you get like a hard copy, or is there some way to like save it somehow? Who knows?
Yeah.
And like, this is something that people should be considering. Like, even like, I have a subscription to Photoshop, and it's like, I don't see them going down anytime soon, but it's like, at the same time, I don't like that I have to pay for a subscription just to use it. Like, I used to be able to just buy the license for a program, and that was it. And then the only thing that I didn't get if I didn't subscribe to them was like support or like updates or something, but I still had like a base program that was like mine.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I would say it's a little different in that it is explicitly a subscription model, as opposed to buying, quote unquote, buying a game on the PlayStation or on Steam, right? There you are making a quote unquote purchase, And yet, again, if Steam goes down, if Steam goes under, where do all your games go? If Amazon goes down, what happens to your ebook version of Best of Classic Card Games, a rule and play reference for your favorite games by Ash Ryan and C.S. Kaiser, available now on Amazon. Physical copy available for pre-order and Kindle copy available now. But what happens to that Kindle copy if Amazon goes down? If Kindle bites the dust?
Or something catastrophic happens to their servers.
Yeah. Do you like that subtle little plug for the book I put in there? It's so subtle how I snuck that in there. I'm sure people barely even noticed it. Yeah. Thanks, chat's reactions. Shua says if you have audiobooks, you can download the files to a local machine and make a backup. That's true. That's true. And
And some of them have PDFs.
But like if you don't have, say all your Steam games, if you have like tons and tons of terabyte drives just hooked up to your computer, maybe you can keep all those games just, backed up. But eventually your Kindle's going to get full, your hard drive's going to get full, and then what do you do? You uninstall a game to make room for another one. But then if you can't reinstall that game later because the service is no longer there, I think you're SOL. And the company that made that game might not even exist anymore.
Yeah, it's stuff like this that makes me worry that the games of the future will be like what happened in the original Fallout, as far as like music goes. Is like in the future after the chaos hits, everybody will be playing like a collection of like really old games from the perspective of when the apocalypse happened, right?
Right.
So say the apocalypse happens in 2052, October 17th, 3:25 in the afternoon PST. Yeah, super, yeah. Bookmark that day, and guys, seriously. Anyway, so say that's when that happens. But 50 years into the future, 100 years into the future, people have like some modicum of technology returning, but the only games they have from pre-war or pre-apocalypse is basically they have Skyrim and Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, and like that's about it. It's like, imagine if that's the case. Like, oh wow, these are the video games from the early century. In case you're missing the reference, it's like in Fallout 1 and 2, it was established that all the music that happened pre the war, there was a big chunk of music that was on a different system, that when the nukes went off, they all got deleted. And that's why you have, the popular ink spots and that stuff, because it's the only stuff that survived.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, imagine that's the case, but with video games sometime in the future. That would be very interesting to see how that works. And like, yeah, what an interesting way of looking at things.
Rise Against Them says, I make local copies of everything, even my old music CDs. I don't trust half of these companies that only have subscription-based services. This is why I have to keep old DVDs and Blu-rays, because at any moment, the movie I want to watch is no longer on one of these platforms that I'm continuously paying for. Yeah, and if you have the energy and time and space to do that, all power to you, right? That's what you have to do. I feel like I don't have time for that. Thankfully, there are people out there working on game preservation, and hopefully they have some success in that. Anyway,
it'd be so interesting to see what happens in the future if say the gamer museum is one of the main buildings that survives in a city, and the apocalypse 100 years in the future because of that, and they have an entire society that's built around video games. God, that'd be so cool. Shall we switch to last story here?
Yeah, so you wanted to talk about Sonic.
Yeah, so Sonic the Hedgehog which I have always loved. Like, not necessarily like the newer games, but like the old games, the original games, and actually the cartoon, because a lot of people don't know that there was a Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon that was legendarily cool. I remember as a young child, as a young boy, just like we went to a bowling thing with family. I had absolutely zero interest in the bowling. I never loved bowling. Bowling is just I hate it. I hate it. But there was one screen playing Sonic the Hedgehog the show, and I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing I have ever seen, ever. And it was super cool. Really loved it. But I'm happy to announce that the first movie was super successful. It turns out the second movie is also doing fan blanking tastic. I mean, really, it's really slapping it. Like, I am genuinely like surprised by how much everybody's reviewing it. Of course, the critics, it's terrible, guys. Obviously, it's all propaganda from some fringe evil group of
People who don't like fun.
yeah, people who don't like fun, and it's just evil, and don't go view it whatsoever, because I don't even understand why the critics are hating on it so much. It's like,
Are they? Because
it's like,
it's not getting the worst. It's got 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is
there's some there. Well, I mean, it entirely depends, right? Because
Yeah.
when you see like 69, 68%, that means that there's some reviewers out there that are giving it a 1 out of 10, right? Because like not everybody's averaging between 5 and 7. There's people that are averaging, that are giving it a 10, and then there's other people who are giving it a 1. And it's like that's the group of people where it's like these people are really they're not really well connected with reality.
Oh yeah, just looking here, the top critics, 29 top critic reviews give it 38%.
Mm-hmm.
But the
And
audience is giving it 97%. So the audience, I mean, yeah, it's there's a
Trust the audience.
Well, that's all I ever do. I don't give a crap about the critic review, the professional critics. They're honestly they don't know. It's like the game developers we were talking about earlier. Who don't know what their audience wants. These professional movie critics, they've lost touch with what your average moviegoer wants.
mm-hmm.
They don't know what a moviegoer. I remember Weird Al saying when his movie UHF got it got panned by critics, but then he was in a theater with some fans watching the movie, and they were the whole place was laughing its ass off, its collective asses off. You know what I'm saying. And Weird Al said, I think movie critics should sit in the front row of the theater, and then they should turn around and watch the people that are watching the movie and write their reviews based on that. And sometimes I think that makes a lot more sense.
Oh yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
And I mean, UHF is not a cinematic masterpiece, but if you're a fan of Weird Al, then it's it's a good movie, right? It's what you would expect from a movie by Weird Al. And that's, again, we've talked about this how many times, Saib, about the Transformers movies. You don't go expecting Shakespeare or some deep deep symbolism and analysis of philosophy. You go to watch robots smashing each other up.
Yeah. And I do feel sorry for Brie Larson, who plays Captain Marvel or whoever. She fell into this trap too, where she did do a movie and she did get upset at critics who were giving her bad reviews, but these were critics who, like, the movie was not designed for them, and that clip kind of is like seen out of like, it is a little out of it wasn't a good take on her end because she didn't like communicate it. I don't think she communicated it well. I think she communicated it rather poorly. But it's the point still stands, is that a lot of these reviewers are reviewing movies, where they're like, where's the drama, the moment of realization where Sonic understands that his speed is is a metaphor for his parents and his upbringing. And it's like, it's a kid's movie based off a video game. Pull your head out of your backside.
That's where some of these reviews, like this one, anyone over the age of 12 had best beware. Wait a minute. You mean this is a movie for kids under the age of 12 and you're giving it a bad review because you're an adult watching it, and you're an adult watching a movie that's aimed at under 12-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You gotta adjust your expectations to that.
Or like hire somebody to do it who actually has an interest in the genre you're writing about.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you're going to write about something that you don't like, chances are you're not going to write favorably about it.
Anyway, some bad reviews, some good reviews. Metacritic, its score on Metacritic is worse. Both the user and the critic score, but still pretty good. I mean, the users still give it pretty good review at 8.1. Critics 47 out of 100. So, anyway, any final thoughts on that? Probably
no.
I mean,
I'm glad that there is now somewhat of a successful blueprint showing how you can make successful video game related content.
That was the key.
This.
That was the core point of this whole story. Yeah. We should talk about that for a minute.
Between this and Arcane, other stuff coming up, which we're hoping to, see some success with. I hope people are out there taking notes. And again, not taking notes as in like how to copy it word for word. we don't want that. Again, alluding to the earlier story, we don't want people, directors, companies just copying from other people. We want them learning the lessons that the successes had. Why was this successful? Because we created an art form that connected with our audience. It's like, there you go. That's your lesson. Find out who your audience is. Connect with them on this level. Make a connection. Stick with it. Stick with the core, lore. Stick with the core things. Don't put your definition on it. It's like that. I've used this as an example a number of times too. It's the guy who did Batman Forever. This early 90s Batman with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the guy who played Batman with complete douchebag. And it was just like, it's like your movie did poorly. Well, it was my interpretation of the movie, of the franchise. It wasn't for the fans. It was for my interpretation of the project. It's like,
well, then you were the wrong person for the job.
Yeah, you had no respect for the fans. You had no respect for anybody. It's like, yeah, you have zero skill in this field. God, you're gross. You just, like, anybody who thinks that they're more important than the thing that they're working on. It's like okay, yeah, yes, that's functionable in like terms of like people working at fast food joints. Yes, you are more important than the food that you're working on. You are more important to, treat yourself with more respect. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is when somebody puts their ego, their own personal ego, in front of a project that is an art project. It's like, nah, actually your ego is not the most important thing in the room right now. But for some people, you can find a lot of these people in Hollywood, that is absolutely not the case. It is their ego first and foremost. That is what they're there for. That is what they're there to focus on. to pump up. They're not there to pump up the story. They're not there to pump up the experience for the fans. They're not there to support any of that. No, they're there to create and build up themselves first and foremost. You people are disgusting.
Mm-hmm. I have a
Hollywood.
I have a story up on the screen right now. The Ghost of Tsushima movie secures writer Takashi Dosher. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Who has written such films as Only and Still, neither of which I have heard of or seen. And it's apparently going to be directed by Chad Stahelski, who directed John Wick. Yeah.
That might be interesting.
I mean, but again, hopefully, again, yeah, you have to respect the source material. When this article points out video game, film, and television adaptations are in a more reputable spot than ever. I would argue that's true, although that means, I mean, that could mean that they've had, they've had more successes than ever. That is true. Out of, many, 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 many failures, but, there's definitely been more successes. I say that the overall percentage of successes is slightly higher now, that's for sure. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 shattered records over the weekend, and Arcane League of Legends recently won 9 trophies at the Annie Awards. So, yeah, there's so many of these happening. But again, like the what was constantly being reported about the Halo TV series, which, I mean, I was ready to get a Crave, I think it's on Crave, a Crave subscription just to watch that show until I heard that the people writing it hadn't even played the game and didn't even care. They just, wanted to do their own thing. Well, I'm like, well, why would I want to see that then? So, has anyone watched it? Anyone listening, or have you guys checked out any of the episodes? Cybermoon?
Definitely. No, sorry, which episode?
Halo, the Halo show.
No, I have not. Despite the fact that they dropped the entire thing on YouTube, I have very little interest in it because of the trailers. The trailers came out, and the clear message that I got is, sorry, this isn't about Master Chief. It's not about any established characters. It's about some rando character that you've never heard of, but is clearly so much more important than Master Chief and everything else you've heard, because you just don't understand. This person is the most important thing that has ever happened in the Halo universe. And as soon as I saw that, I was immediately turned off from the series, point blank. This wasn't like Forward Unto Dawn. I think that was the name of the mini-series.
Oh, yeah.
With a featured the kids, where it was the kids surviving, and Master Chief came in and saved them all at the last second. And that story was gripping. That story was interesting. That story was piercing because of its uniqueness, because of how it evolved it. Yes, these characters were never characters that you saw in the universe up to that point, but they didn't usurp Master Chief. They didn't usurp the storyline. They were trying to survive whilst the story was unfolding. And that was an interesting take on it. This isn't that take.
I remember
from
really
everything that I've
that.
heard and everything that I've saw, this isn't that take. This is a take of excuse me, you clearly don't know how important these people are. It's like, excuse me, what? Like, these people are so important. You have to understand that this is the future. What are you talking about? Who, like, this doesn't make any sense. Who are these people? This is ridiculous.
So hard.
And it immediately leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Because people hijacking other IPs to just spin their own crap. It's like, if you got, like, I have nothing against people trying to spin their own super special character with this super important story, but it's like, why do you have to steal, like, the lore in the background and completely trash it from other people? Why? Why can't you just make your own thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, because then, some big network won't pay them millions of dollars to do it then,
Like they say that imitation is the purest form of flattery, but in this case, it's like
Well,
they just took it and trashed it.
yeah. Well,
Like just no respect whatsoever.
that's the ultimate disrespect when they do that. And if I can't say firsthand about the Halo series, but if they've just put it up for free to watch, I might check it out just to see if what I'd heard about it is true or not. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the Augmented Reality Podcast this week, whether you're listening live here on the Discord server or after the fact on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms. We really appreciate you being here. Please do slam that like button, follow, subscribe, whatever you do on that platform that you're on, and leave your comments below to tell us what you thought and what you think about these topics and our opinions on them. And hey, find the links in the description below to join our Guilded or Discord servers, or both, preferably both. If you're going to just join one, you should probably join Guilded. Like I said, we're kind of moving in that direction, and eventually we will be moving the podcast recording sessions over onto Guilded. But for the time being, the Discord server is still alive and well. As soon as we're done this recording, of course, all our supporters in the live audience join us for the post-show hangout in the post-show hangout room. For everybody else listening, thank you so much for checking us out today, and stay tuned for Maximum News, which comes out on the weekend, and another episode of Augmented Reality next week at this same time. Comes out every Wednesday, noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So with that, we'll bid you farewell, and we'll talk to you again very soon.